Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome now author, screenwriter and columnist, Miss Advaita Kala. Let's welcome her with a big round of applause, please.
Thank you so much. It's really lovely to see so many men in the audience before the lights were dimmed. I don't know, to offer them some privacy or to offer speakers privacy as we embark on this discussion. My topic is owning your menstrual experience. And because that is my topic, I'd like to announce from here that I just got done with my period. Now, spoiler alert. That doesn't mean 24 hours ago you would have found me any different. Same voice, same thoughts, same stance. And that's the first step to demystifying. Thank you so much again for being here. And it's interesting when I just made this statement, came on stage, made this statement. It's not because I'm embarrassed. It's just that quite simply there hasn't been an occasion or a platform to do this earlier. So I would like to start by really thanking Outlook for providing a platform to speak on bleeding red and for really helping us lay the bricks on the pathway to demystifying and destigmatizing this essential female experience, which is menstruation. Since I am an author, a writer, a screenwriter, and a storyteller by default, and this is about owning your own menstrual experience, I will tell you my own story. A couple of years ago, actually very many years ago now, I was trotted off as an 8-year-old to an all-girls boarding school in the foothills of the Himalayas under very dramatic circumstances, which is really a story for another time. But at that point of time, there was no prepping or cautionary tales of the female experience. I had to be rushed off to boarding school, and there I was. Suddenly in the midst of peers, those my own age, and other sophisticated creatures, like 12-year-old girls, who can be very sophisticated. And the first conversation, literally the first conversation that we had, was about the period. I've been asked to walk around a little bit, so I'll do that, but I don't think this mic is working. Is it working? Yes, now it is. So the first conversation that we really had was about the menstrual experience. Who, how, when have you? And at the age of 8, I'd never even heard of it. But my sisterhood, what was becoming my sisterhood, was more than happy to educate me. There was the girl who had already had her period a little early. There was the other who was waiting. There was a third who had an older sister, and she was the wise one. She was the one who knew the vocabulary, who was the expert. And I realized that there was a vocabulary, whether you called it the period or chums or being down. It was a shared vocabulary, and if you didn't know that vocabulary, you were really not part of the system. So the period hence became something that I wanted to experience, that I wanted to own, that I thought would make me belong, and hence began the wait. At the age of 10, I thought I saw something that had announced that my time had come. I put on a pad, evening playtime at the volleyball courts. I would run to the bathroom to check if it was soaked, and it wasn't. For me, alas, my time had not come again, as yet. It took a couple of years, and then it was there. But the sisterhood ensured that the passage was comforting. And I'll tell you why. Because during that brief time, getting your period became about sisterhood, exchanging stories, being passed the hot water bottle, being checked upon if you were all right, being forgiven your transgressions, your behavioral transgressions, being permitted yourself in those days. It was something that one looked forward to. And it was a beautiful transition. A few years later, I left the boarding school and was thrust into the world of co-educational study. And it was for the first time that the men in menstruation came to light. Although they were teenage boys, but the men in menstruation started exerting their presence. Now the young girls who were my classmates wore starched white skirts. In the winter months, they would tie cardigans around their waists in faux fashion to conceal accidents or stains that caused shame. In the summer months, they would have to be braver. They would marshal their friends into circles to guard them, to preserve their honor, much in the way the most powerful men in the world do, like US presidents. They had to be protected from the shame of a stain. This was unreal to me. I couldn't quite understand it, and I had to once again reevaluate my relationship with the menstrual experience. So how was I going to deal with it? In the flush of rebellious teenagehood, I decided that I was going to weaponize it. I was going to claim the mean moods, the cramps, the headaches, the sulks, and chase away boys who were as interested in the period as they were in the bra strap every time they asked me a question. And so that's what I did. Chase them away with comments and watch them scurry away embarrassed. As Janet Winterson, the writer, has written, when she bleeds, the smells change the colors that I know. There is iron in her soul on those days. She smells like a gun. The teenage me was fully loaded. And then later on came the working life. Now you would think, and justifiably so, that when you've been used to something for so many decades and so many years in the working life, the stigma of the period would dissipate. But it emerged yet again, because now there were more men in the menstruation. I had to again challenge my own thought process, my own relationship with menstruation. Was it something that made me weak, that set me aside? Or was it something that was part of all of me? I realized that yet again I would have to summon not the rebellious teen, but the curious 8-year-old to articulate what was essentially a human experience. A human experience that is not one of shame, that is all too commonplace and natural. And that is what I did. My sisterhood that I happened into by chance as a young girl had helped me navigate and manage my own menstrual experience. And when I talk about women claiming the menstrual experience, I want to issue a caveat. In the times of gender fluidity, it is unfair and incorrect to assume that one biological process, the internal shedding of things that we must shed every month, makes you female, and other things do not. So that is the caveat I offer when I say this is not exclusionary, but this is a way of claiming your experience and ensuring that everybody understands this for what it is, something natural. So in conclusion, all I want to say is, go out in the world, ladies, young girls, go out fully loaded. Know this is your weapon. For while men still run the world, it is women and the period that ensures there is one at all. Thank you.